Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about failure. It's not the enemy you think it is. No. Failure is that messy, loud neighbor who's always showing up uninvited, making a racket, and teaching you lessons you didn't know you needed. And guess what? That neighbor is necessary for you to grow. Now, let me break it down for you. The biggest reason for failure isn't that life is unfair or you're unlucky or someone's got it out for you. Nope. The reason for failure is fear. Fear of trying, fear of falling, fear of what people might say when they see you mess up. But here's the thing, failure ain't final unless you stop trying. It's like riding a bike. You're gonna fall. Oh, trust me, you're gonna fall so hard, people might think you're auditioning for a slapstick comedy. But those falls are how you learn balance, how you figure out what works and what doesn't. Let me ask you this. How many of you are holding back because you're afraid of failing? Don't answer that out loud. Just nod on the inside. I know the answer already. We all do it. We hold back because failure feels like it's the end of the road, but it's not. It's just a detour. It's like GPS saying, rerouting. Here's another reason we fail. We're too comfortable. Yeah, I said it. Comfort is a dangerous thing. When you're too comfortable, you stop pushing yourself. You stop dreaming big. And when you stop moving forward, life has a funny way of hitting you with a reminder. That reminder is failure. But don't get it twisted. Failure isn't here to destroy you. It's here to develop you. Failure is a teacher, a coach, and sometimes a drill sergeant. It's here to say, you ain't ready yet, but if you're willing to work, I'll get you there. You see, success doesn't come from avoiding failure. It comes from embracing it. It comes from falling flat on your face, getting up, dusting yourself off, and saying, is that all you got? The greats, the legends, the ones we admire, they didn't make it because they never failed. They made it because they failed over and over and over again and kept going. So if you've failed, congratulations. You're in the game. You're learning. You're growing. You're becoming the person you were meant to be. And if you're scared to fail, let me remind you of this. The only thing worse than failing is never trying at all. You can't win a race you never start. You can't score points from the sidelines. So stop letting fear hold you back. Stop letting comfort keep you stuck. Get out there, fail big, fail hard, and when you do, smile, because that's the sound of progress knocking at your door. Thank you. Fear of failure is one of the most powerful forces that holds people back from achieving their goals, realizing their dreams, or even attempting the things they feel called to do. It's a subtle but relentless presence in our minds that often disguises itself as logic or practicality. It whispers questions like, what if I'm not good enough? Or what will people think if I fail? These thoughts create an invisible barrier between where we are and where we want to go. The truth is, fear of failure is more crippling than failure itself because it keeps us from even trying. It convinces us to stay in our comfort zones, avoiding risks and challenges, but that's where growth ceases to exist. When we fear failure, we often start overanalyzing and overthinking every decision. We imagine worst-case scenarios, and those imagined outcomes feel so real in our minds that they paralyze us. The fear becomes larger than the possibility of success. We start playing small, convincing ourselves that it's better to stick with what we know than to venture into unknown territory where failure might lurk. But what we don't realize in those moments is that this fear is rooted in self-doubt. It's not about the actual act of failing. It's about the story we tell ourselves about what failure means. We equate failure with being inadequate, unworthy, or incapable, but none of those things are true. Failure is simply feedback, a result, a stepping stone, not a definition of who we are. Another way fear of failure manifests is through procrastination. Sometimes we delay starting something because deep down we're afraid of not succeeding. Instead of admitting that fear, we make excuses like, well, I'll wait until I'm more prepared, or I'll start when the timing is perfect. But let's be honest, there's no such thing as perfect timing, and no amount of preparation can guarantee success. The truth is, procrastination is often a mask for fear. By avoiding action, we avoid the risk of failing, but we also avoid the chance of succeeding. This fear-driven cycle of inaction robs us of opportunities that could lead to growth, learning, and even the fulfillment of our greatest potential. One of the most profound ways fear of failure limits us is by causing us to settle for less than we're capable of. We convince ourselves that aiming too high is dangerous, that wanting more is greedy, or that dreaming big will only lead to disappointment. So instead of striving for greatness, we stay in jobs that don't inspire us, relationships that don't fulfill us, or routines that don't challenge us. We rationalize our decisions by saying, at least this is safe, or it's not so bad. But deep down, we know we're capable of more. The fear of failure convinces us that the risk of going for what we really want isn't worth it. And that's where so many dreams go to die, not in the attempt, but in the hesitation. Fear of failure doesn't just affect our decisions, it affects how we see ourselves. It creates a constant internal dialogue that questions our worth and abilities. We start to believe that if we fail, it will confirm our worst fears about ourselves, that we're not smart enough, talented enough, or deserving enough. But what's ironic is that failure itself doesn't have the power to define us. It's our interpretation of failure that gives it meaning. When we fear failure, we allow it to become a reflection of our identity instead of viewing it as a natural part of the learning process. This mindset keeps us trapped, always doubting and second-guessing ourselves. What makes fear of failure even more challenging is the societal pressure to appear successful. We live in a world where social media often showcases only the highlights, the wins, and the polished moments. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we're falling short. This comparison amplifies our fear of failure because we start to believe that our worth is tied to how we measure up to others. We become more afraid of failing publicly than of missing out on our own potential. But the truth is, nobody's journey is free of setbacks. Behind every success story, there are countless moments of failure that rarely get talked about. When we let fear of failure dictate our actions, we're basing our decisions on a distorted reality, forgetting that even the most successful people have failed many times. Another aspect of fear of failure is that it often stems from a desire to control outcomes. We want guarantees before we take action. We want to know that our efforts will lead to success. But life doesn't work that way. There are no guarantees, and waiting for certainty only leads to missed opportunities. The need for control can be paralyzing because it's impossible to predict every variable or outcome. Instead of embracing the uncertainty that comes with taking risks, we retreat into a false sense of security, thinking that if we don't try, we can't fail. But in reality, not trying is the ultimate failure. It's the failure to grow, to learn, and to experience the fullness of life. Fear of failure also creates a fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think if we don't succeed. Will they laugh at us? Will they lose respect for us? These thoughts can be so overwhelming that they stop us from taking any steps forward. But here's the thing, most people are so caught up in their own lives that they're not paying as much attention to us as we think they are. And even if they do judge, their opinions don't define us. Allowing the fear of judgment to control our decisions only gives power to others that they don't deserve to have. One of the biggest ironies about fear of failure is that it often makes us fail before we've even begun. By avoiding risks, we miss out on opportunities. By not trying, we eliminate the possibility of success. The fear itself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually creating the very outcome we're afraid of. The truth is, failure is not nearly as scary as we imagine it to be. It's temporary, it's manageable, and most importantly, it's not the end of the story. Fear of failure, on the other hand, can keep us stuck indefinitely, holding us back from all the incredible things we could achieve if we were willing to take the leap. Failure is often misunderstood and unfairly labeled as something to be avoided at all costs. In reality, failure is one of the most effective teachers life has to offer. It has a way of breaking through our egos, our assumptions, and our plans to teach us lessons we can't learn any other way. The idea that failure is something negative is ingrained in us from an early age. We grow up striving for perfection, being rewarded for success, and being taught to fear mistakes. But when we take a step back and really look at it, failure is simply a result, a byproduct of taking action and trying something new. It's not a judgment on our worth or our abilities. Instead, it's an opportunity for growth, for learning, and for discovering what doesn't work so we can find what does. Failure provides clarity. When we attempt something and fall short, it gives us valuable feedback about where we went wrong, what we misunderstood, or what areas need improvement. Without that feedback, we'd never know how to adjust, adapt, or refine our approach. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle but refusing to make a wrong move. You'd never get anywhere because you'd be too afraid to try a piece in the wrong spot. Failure allows us to experiment, to test our ideas, and to push the boundaries of what we think is possible. It gives us the freedom to take risks, knowing that even if we don't get it right the first time, we're one step closer to figuring it out. One of the most important things failure teaches us is resilience. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and obstacles, and it's impossible to avoid them entirely. But failure shows us that we're stronger than we think. Each time we fail and get back up, we build mental and emotional strength. We learn that failure isn't fatal, that we can survive disappointment, and that we can keep going even when things don't go our way. Resilience is a skill that only comes from experience, and failure is one of the best ways to develop it. It teaches us to persevere, to stay focused on our goals, and to keep moving forward no matter what. Failure also teaches humility. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers, that we're not invincible, and that there's always room for growth. When we fail, it's a humbling experience that forces us to confront our limitations. But that humility is a gift because it opens the door to learning. When we accept that we don't know everything, we become more willing to listen, to seek advice, and to learn from others. Failure strips away our pride and reminds us that we're all human, that mistakes are inevitable, and that there's no shame in falling short as long as we're willing to learn and grow from the experience. Another powerful lesson failure teaches is adaptability. When we fail, we're forced to reevaluate our strategies, our goals, and sometimes even our beliefs. It pushes us to think creatively, to explore new approaches, and to step out of our comfort zones. Adaptability is essential in a world that's constantly changing. The ability to pivot, to adjust, and to try something different is what separates those who succeed from those who give up. Failure challenges us to be flexible, to embrace uncertainty, and to find new ways to overcome obstacles. It's not about sticking to a rigid plan. It's about being willing to change course when things don't go as expected. Failure also teaches us patience. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, failure reminds us that success takes time. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as we like, but failure forces us to slow down, to reflect, and to keep working toward our goals. It shows us that progress isn't always linear and that setbacks are a natural part of the journey. Patience is about staying committed to the process, even when it feels like you're not making any progress. It's about trusting that every failure is bringing you closer to your goal, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Failure also challenges us to redefine success. We often have rigid ideas about what success looks like, and when we don't meet those expectations, we feel like we've failed. But failure teaches us that success isn't always about the end result. Sometimes it's about the effort, the growth, and the lessons we learn along the way. It reminds us to celebrate progress, no matter how small, and to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. Success isn't about never failing. It's about learning, growing, and becoming better through the process of failing. One of the most surprising things about failure is that it often leads to unexpected opportunities. When we fail, we're forced to explore new paths, to try new things, and to think outside the box. Some of the greatest successes in history came from what seemed like failures at the time. Failure has a way of redirecting us, of pushing us toward opportunities we might never have considered otherwise. It shows us that even when things don't go as planned, there's always something to be gained if we're willing to look for it. Failure also teaches us empathy. When we experience failure, we gain a deeper understanding of what it feels like to struggle, to face setbacks, and to overcome challenges. That understanding makes us more compassionate toward others who are going through similar experiences. It reminds us that everyone is on their own journey, facing their own battles, and that failure is a universal experience. Empathy is what allows us to connect with others, to support them, and to build relationships based on understanding and mutual respect. Failure teaches us to be kinder, not just to others, but also to ourselves. One of the greatest gifts of failure is self-discovery. When we fail, we're forced to confront our fears, our doubts, and our insecurities, but in doing so, we also discover our strengths, our passions, and our true potential. Failure has a way of stripping away the superficial and revealing who we really are. It shows us what we're capable of, what we're willing to fight for, and what truly matters to us. It's through failure that we discover our resilience, our creativity, and our determination. It's through failure that we learn what we're made of. Failure isn't just a teacher, it's a guide. It points us in the direction of growth, of learning, and of becoming the best version of ourselves. It's not something to be feared or avoided, it's something to be embraced. When we fail, we're not just learning about what doesn't work, we're learning about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we're willing to do to achieve our goals. Failure is a reminder that we're human, that we're imperfect, and that we're constantly evolving. It's not a sign of weakness or inadequacy. It's a sign that we're trying, that we're pushing ourselves, and that we're willing to take risks in pursuit of something greater. Comfort is one of the most deceptive barriers to progress and growth. It feels safe, familiar, and easy, but it can also quietly keep us from reaching our full potential. When we stay in our comfort zones, we avoid taking risks, we avoid challenges, and we avoid the possibility of failure. On the surface, this might seem like the smart thing to do. After all, why step into the unknown when what you have now feels good enough? But the truth is, staying comfortable often means settling. It means ignoring opportunities for growth and avoiding the discomfort that comes with pushing yourself towards something greater. Comfort is like a soft, warm blanket that keeps you from venturing out into the cold world where the real magic happens. When we allow ourselves to remain comfortable, we limit our ability to learn and grow. Growth only happens when we stretch beyond what we already know, beyond what feels easy or familiar. Think about a muscle. If you don't challenge it, if you don't push it with resistance, it won't grow stronger. It will stay the same or even weaken over time. The same principle applies to our skills, our ambitions, and our potential. If we only do what we've always done, we'll only get what we've always gotten. Comfort lulls us into a sense of complacency, making us believe that staying where we are is enough, but deep down, there's often a nagging feeling that we're capable of more. The problem with comfort is that it creates a false sense of security. It convinces us that avoiding risks will protect us from pain, disappointment, or failure. But the reality is, no matter how safe we try to play it, challenges and setbacks are unavoidable. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, and staying comfortable doesn't shield us from that. What it does, however, is leave us unprepared when those challenges arise. When we're too comfortable, we don't develop the resilience, the problem-solving skills, or the adaptability needed to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs. Comfort may feel safe in the moment, but in the long run, it can leave us stagnant and unfulfilled. One of the most dangerous aspects of comfort is how it narrows our perspective. When we stick to what we know, we miss out on the opportunities that lie just beyond our current horizon. We stop seeking new experiences, meeting new people, or exploring new ideas. This limited perspective keeps us from seeing what's possible and from realizing our true potential. Comfort creates blinders that make the world seem smaller than it really is, convincing us that what we have now is all there is. But the world is vast, and the opportunities for growth, learning, and success are endless if we're willing to step out of our comfort zones and explore them. Comfort also has a way of dulling our ambitions. When we get too comfortable, we stop dreaming big. We settle for what feels achievable, what feels safe, instead of reaching for what we truly want. Over time, this can lead to a sense of dissatisfaction or regret, as we look back and realize we never gave ourselves the chance to pursue our full potential. Comfort convinces us that the risk isn't worth it, that the effort required to chase our dreams is too great, or that failure is too frightening to face. But the truth is, nothing great has ever been achieved from a place of comfort. The people who make a difference, who create change, who achieve extraordinary things, they all stepped out of their comfort zones and faced the challenges head on. Comfort often keeps us from taking the first step toward something new. We tell ourselves we're not ready, that we'll try later, or that it's not the right time. But these are just excuses born out of fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These fears keep us rooted in our comfort zones, convincing us that staying put is the better option. But the reality is, there's never a perfect time to start. Waiting for the right moment often turns into waiting forever. The only way to grow, to achieve, and to become the person we're meant to be is to take that first step, even when it feels uncomfortable. Comfort can also make us forget the value of perseverance. When we stay in our comfort zones, we don't experience the struggles and setbacks that teach us the importance of persistence. We avoid the challenges that require grit, determination, and hard work. But these are the very qualities that lead to success. Without perseverance, we're less likely to stick with something when it gets tough. We're more likely to give up at the first sign of difficulty because we're not used to dealing with discomfort. By avoiding challenges, we miss out on the opportunity to develop the resilience and determination needed to overcome obstacles and achieve our goals. Another way comfort holds us back is by creating a fear of change. When we get too comfortable, the idea of change becomes intimidating. We start to cling to what we know, even if it's not what we truly want, because the unknown feels risky. But change is an essential part of growth. It's through change that we discover new opportunities, develop new skills, and gain new perspectives. The fear of change keeps us stuck in the same routines, the same habits, and the same mindset, preventing us from evolving into the person we're capable of becoming. Comfort can also make us underestimate our own potential. When we stay within the boundaries of what we know, we don't give ourselves the chance to see what we're truly capable of. We don't push ourselves to achieve more, to learn more, or to become more. Comfort convinces us that we're doing enough, that we don't need to try harder or aim higher. But this is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of growth. The truth is, we're all capable of far more than we realize, but we'll never know what we're capable of if we don't step out of our comfort zones and challenge ourselves. Comfort also stifles creativity. When we stick to the familiar, we stop exploring new ideas, experimenting with new approaches, or thinking outside the box. Creativity thrives on curiosity, on the willingness to take risks and try something different. But comfort keeps us in the realm of what we know, making it harder to innovate or come up with fresh solutions. It's only when we step out of our comfort zones and embrace the uncertainty of the unknown that we tap into our full creative potential. Finally, comfort keeps us from living a life of purpose and passion. When we stay in our comfort zones, we often settle for what's easy instead of pursuing what truly matters to us. We ignore our passions, our dreams, and our calling because chasing them feels too risky or too difficult. But a life lived entirely within the boundaries of comfort is a life half lived. It's a life that misses out on the joy, the fulfillment, and the meaning that come from pursuing something greater than ourselves. Comfort may feel safe, but it's also limiting, and it keeps us from experiencing the richness and depth of life that only come from stepping into the unknown. Success and failure are often perceived as opposites, but in reality, they are deeply interconnected. Success is not a straight line. It's a path littered with obstacles, setbacks, and, most importantly, lessons learned from failure. The misconception that successful people have somehow avoided failure is far from the truth. In fact, most successful individuals have failed more times than they can count. The difference is that they didn't let failure define them. They used it as fuel to move forward, as a stepping stone to reach greater heights. Failure, when approached with the right mindset, becomes a teacher, a motivator, and a necessary part of the journey toward success. One of the most powerful aspects of failure is its ability to illuminate the gaps in our knowledge, skills, or approach. When something doesn't work out, it forces us to take a closer look at what went wrong. It compels us to evaluate our methods, reconsider our strategies, and identify areas where we need to grow. This process of self-reflection is invaluable because it provides clarity and direction. Failure isn't just about falling short. It's about uncovering the reasons behind it. When we take the time to analyze our failures, we gain insights that help us improve and make better decisions moving forward. It's through these moments of introspection that we build the foundation for future success. Failure isn't just about falling short. It's about uncovering the reasons behind it. When we take the time to analyze our failures, we gain insights that help us improve and make better decisions moving forward. It's through these moments of introspection that we build the foundation for future success. Failure also teaches us persistence. The road to success is rarely a smooth one, and setbacks are inevitable. What separates those who achieve their goals from those who don't is the willingness to keep going despite the challenges. Failure can be discouraging, but it also tests our commitment to our dreams. It asks us, how badly do you want this? For those who are truly passionate about their goals, failure becomes a temporary obstacle rather than a permanent roadblock. Each time they stumble, they find the strength to get back up and try again. Persistence is not just about continuing after failure. It's about learning from it, adapting, and coming back stronger. It's the determination to keep pushing forward no matter how many times you fall. Failure also has a way of stripping away our illusions. Sometimes we go into a situation with unrealistic expectations or assumptions about how things should work. When we fail, it forces us to confront reality and adjust our perspective. This can be a humbling experience, but it's also incredibly valuable. It reminds us that success isn't always about having the perfect plan. It's about being flexible, open-minded, and willing to learn along the way. Failure teaches us to let go of our preconceived notions and adapt to the challenges in front of us. It shows us that the path to success is rarely predictable and that being able to pivot is a crucial skill. Another crucial lesson that failure teaches is the importance of resilience. Life doesn't always go as planned, and the ability to bounce back from setbacks is essential for success. Resilience is not something we're born with. It's something we develop through experience, often through failure. Each time we face a setback and overcome it, we build our capacity to handle future challenges. Resilience is about more than just enduring hardship. It's about growing stronger because of it. Failure provides us with the opportunity to prove to ourselves that we can handle adversity, that we can rise above disappointment, and that we have the strength to keep going even when things get tough. Failure also helps us build confidence, though it may not seem that way at first. When we fail, it's easy to feel discouraged or doubt ourselves. But each time we face failure and keep going, we prove to ourselves that we're capable of handling challenges. Confidence isn't built by avoiding failure, it's built by overcoming it. When we look back on the obstacles we've faced and the failures we've endured, we realize how far we've come and how much we've grown. This sense of accomplishment fuels our confidence and gives us the courage to take on even greater challenges in the future. Failure is also a powerful motivator. When we fall short, it ignites a fire within us to do better. It challenges us to rise to the occasion, to prove to ourselves and others that we're capable of more. Failure has a way of bringing out our determination, our grit, and our hunger for success. It pushes us to work harder, think smarter, and dig deeper. Without failure, we might never discover the full extent of our potential. It's often in our lowest moments, when we're forced to confront failure head-on, that we find the strength to push past our limits and achieve something extraordinary. Another way failure contributes to success is by teaching us the value of perseverance. Success is rarely immediate, and it often requires a long-term commitment to our goals. Failure tests our resolve and reminds us that the journey to success is a marathon, not a sprint. It's easy to feel motivated at the beginning of a new venture, but when things get tough, when we encounter setbacks and disappointments, that's when our true character is revealed. Perseverance is about staying the course even when the odds seem stacked against us. It's about refusing to give up, no matter how difficult the journey becomes. Failure challenges us to dig deep and find the strength to keep moving forward. Failure also teaches us the importance of taking risks. Playing it safe might protect us from failure in the short term, but it also limits our opportunities for growth and success. Taking risks means stepping out of our comfort zones and being willing to face the possibility of failure. It's through these risks that we discover new opportunities, new ideas, and new paths to success. Failure reminds us that the biggest rewards often come from the biggest risks. It encourages us to embrace uncertainty and to see failure not as a threat, but as a natural part of the process. One of the most surprising things about failure is how it can strengthen our relationships. When we're open about our failures and vulnerabilities, we connect with others on a deeper level. Sharing our struggles allows us to build trust and foster genuine connections. Failure reminds us that we're all human, that we all face challenges, and that we're not alone in our journey. It teaches us to be empathetic and supportive of others who are going through similar experiences. Failure has a way of bringing people together and creating a sense of community, reminding us that we're stronger when we support one another. Failure also teaches us the value of gratitude. When we experience setbacks, it's easy to focus on what went wrong and forget about all the things that are going right. But failure has a way of putting things into perspective. It reminds us to appreciate the progress we've made, the lessons we've learned, and the opportunities we've been given. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, allowing us to approach failure with a positive mindset. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, there's always something to be grateful for, something to celebrate, and something to look forward to. Failure is an integral part of the journey to success because it forces us to grow, to adapt, and to become better versions of ourselves. It challenges us to think creatively, to solve problems, and to overcome obstacles. It reminds us that success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about embracing it, learning from it, and using it as a tool for growth. Failure teaches us that the journey to success is not a straight line, but a series of ups and downs, of trials and triumphs. It shows us that each setback is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to move closer to our goals. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary part of the process. One of the most important truths about failure is that it's often rooted in fear. Fear is a powerful emotion that can hold us back from taking the actions we know are necessary to achieve our goals. It's not just fear of failure itself, but fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of disappointment, and even fear of success. These fears plant seeds of doubt in our minds and create barriers that keep us from reaching our potential. Fear whispers all the reasons we shouldn't try, all the ways things could go wrong, and all the pain we might experience if we fall short. It paralyzes us, convincing us that staying still is safer than stepping forward. But fear doesn't protect us from failure. In many cases, it ensures it. By not trying, by not taking risks, and by not pursuing our goals, we fail by default. Fear often manifests in the stories we tell ourselves. These stories sound reasonable at first. Things like, I'm not ready yet, I don't have enough experience, or this isn't the right time. But underneath these excuses lies the truth. We're afraid. We're afraid of putting ourselves out there, afraid of being vulnerable, and afraid of discovering that we might not be as prepared or capable as we thought. The fear of failure convinces us to wait, to hold back, to play it safe. But waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. The perfect moment rarely, if ever, comes. Fear uses the promise of later to keep us stuck in the same place, avoiding the discomfort of action and the possibility of failure. In doing so, fear robs us of the chance to grow, to learn, and to achieve. One of the most damaging aspects of fear is how it distorts our perception of failure. Fear makes failure seem final, as though one setback means the end of the road. But failure is rarely the end. It's often just a detour. It's an opportunity to learn, to adjust, and to come back stronger. When we let fear dictate our actions, we miss out on these opportunities. We become so focused on avoiding failure that we fail to see it for what it really is, a stepping stone on the path to success. Fear magnifies the consequences of failure, making them seem larger and more permanent than they truly are. But in reality, most failures are temporary. They're setbacks, not endings. They're lessons, not losses. Overcoming fear requires shifting our mindset, seeing failure as part of the process rather than something to be feared and avoided. Fear also thrives on uncertainty. When we don't know what's going to happen, our minds often fill in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. We imagine all the ways things could go wrong, all the people who might judge us, and all the pain we might feel if we fail. This focus on the negative creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we expect failure, we act cautiously, we hesitate, and we hold back. These actions, driven by fear, often lead to the very outcome we were trying to avoid. Fear of the unknown keeps us from taking bold steps and pursuing new opportunities. It convinces us that it's better to stay where we are, in the safety of the familiar, than to risk venturing into uncharted territory. But the unknown is where growth happens. It's where breakthroughs occur. It's where success is waiting to be discovered. Another way fear leads to failure is by keeping us from taking risks. Risk is an inherent part of any meaningful endeavor. Whether it's starting a business, pursuing a passion, or taking on a new challenge, success requires stepping into the unknown and facing the possibility of failure. Fear, however, makes us hesitant. It convinces us that the risk isn't worth it, that the stakes are too high, or that we're not capable of handling the outcome if things don't go as planned. This hesitation often leads to missed opportunities. The chance we didn't take, the idea we didn't pursue, or the step we didn't make. These are the moments where fear robs us of the possibility of success. Risk and reward go hand in hand, and overcoming fear means recognizing that the potential for failure is a necessary part of achieving our goals. Fear can also lead to perfectionism, which is another form of self-sabotage. Perfectionism is rooted in the fear of not being good enough. It's the belief that unless something is flawless, it's not worth doing at all. Perfectionism keeps us stuck in a cycle of endless preparation, constant revisions, and never feeling ready to move forward. It convinces us that if we just work a little harder, plan a little more, or wait a little longer, we can eliminate the risk of failure entirely. But perfectionism is a trap. It's impossible to achieve perfection, and the pursuit of it often leads to procrastination and paralysis. Fear of imperfection prevents us from taking action, from putting ourselves out there, and from making progress. Overcoming this fear requires embracing imperfection, understanding that progress is more important than perfection, and recognizing that mistakes are a natural and necessary part of the journey. Fear also keeps us from asking for help. Many of us fear being seen as weak, incapable, or dependent on others. This fear can prevent us from seeking the support, guidance, or mentorship that could help us succeed. We convince ourselves that we have to do everything on our own, that asking for help is a sign of failure or inadequacy. But the truth is, no one achieves success entirely on their own. Behind every successful person is a network of support. Friends, family, mentors, and collaborators who help them along the way. Overcoming the fear of asking for help means recognizing that seeking support is not a weakness but a strength. It's an acknowledgement that we all have areas where we can grow and that we're stronger when we work together. Fear also has a way of magnifying the voices of doubt and criticism. When we're afraid, we become hyper-aware of what others might think or say. We fear being judged, ridiculed, or rejected. This fear of external judgment can be paralyzing, keeping us from expressing ourselves authentically or pursuing our goals wholeheartedly. But the truth is, most people are too focused on their own lives to spend much time judging ours. And even if they do, their opinions don't define our worth or our potential. Overcoming this fear means learning to trust ourselves, to value our own judgment above the opinions of others, and to take action despite the possibility of criticism. Fear also feeds on past experiences. If we've failed before, if we've faced rejection or disappointment, fear uses those memories as evidence that we shouldn't try again. It convinces us that history will repeat itself, that our past defines our future. But this is a lie. Our past failures don't determine our future success. Our actions in the present do. Overcoming fear means letting go of the baggage of past failures, learning the lessons they taught us, and approaching new challenges with a fresh perspective. It means recognizing that every setback is an opportunity to grow, and that our ability to succeed is not limited by our past. Finally, fear thrives in isolation. When we face challenges alone, our fears can feel overwhelming. They grow in the silence, unchecked by the perspective and encouragement of others. Isolation magnifies fear, making it harder to take action or see a way forward. Overcoming fear means breaking out of isolation and connecting with others. It means seeking out people who inspire us, who believe in us, and who can help us see beyond our fears. Community provides strength, encouragement, and accountability. It reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles and that we have the support we need to face our fears and move forward.